here we go. We're kicking off the recording now. And so if you need an account, go ahead and reach out to me. My email at kcarrigan@uni.edu, and I can set you into the university account, which sets you up with a host of wonderful benefits and so forth that don't exist on the free accounts. All right. So, and then if you have any questions or so forth, go ahead and set them into the chat. And moving forward. So in order to respond to this poll, go ahead and go to, you can open up a tab on your computer and go to pollev.com/KPC007. So you can just open up a tab in Google, and that is one of the easiest ways to respond. The other way to do is to set up your, you can get the application on your phone, or if your phone is browser compliant, you can just open up a browser and go to this as well. So if you have the application, but using this tab presents kind of a couple of cool things here. Not only do you have the current tab or current question that is being posed to the classroom up and available, you can also see, you can see another second tab in that window that you are. There's sort of a back channel riding in the back there that you can click on and post any questions into that back channel if you want, as we sort of go through this. Okay, so we got a few questions coming in here. Looks like we've got one or two coming in. There we go. Let's see, 1, 2. We got a couple sleepies. We got a couple scareds. So I'm just looking, as you can see, I can see the number of people that are responding. So that's pretty much everybody that we have on hand here today. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through a series of more polls, just sort of, kind of open up the class. You could open up a class this way and sort of get a vibe on what's happening, or perhaps if you assign some work the night before. But we're just going to kind of practice with a couple of polls. Okay, so which college do you work in at the university here? So let's see, we got a couple of Cass, we got a WCHP, so far 2 in, up. WCHP is running the race here at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, that is everybody. So all peeps are my peeps, excellent. So there it is. So you can kind of see where this is kind of fun, because we can bring these questions, students who are hesitant to answer or scared to answer. This is a totally anonymous way for them to jump in their piece and so forth. And I had set this one up to sort of create teams. So depending on where you answered in this one, I can now track your responses by which answer you've gotten here. And we'll kind of take a look at what that looks like in this next one. So I want to find out how you are with Poll Everywhere at this juncture of your game. How's that work for you? Have you used it often, used it once? Have you heard of it? Or what is Poll Everywhere of which you speak? Okay, excellent. We've got one that's like, what is this? And we got a couple, okay, so excellent. We have all right, someone changed their mind. That's all right, that's allowed. So we've got a had of it. I've used it once, I've used it often. Oh, back with the used it once. All right, so we are across the board. That's okay. So today's workshop, we're going to cover everything soup to nuts. And you can see here, all peeps are my peeps have chimed in, but you can see how this is divided up with this one. I can see who from WCHP has used it, and then one from Cass that has not. So it just kind of gives me some feedback, some additional depth of feedback on where my students might be at this point. And this is what's called a segmented response. And we'll kind of take a look at that as we dive in a little bit deeper. And computer platforms, who's on a Mac, who's on a PC? Okay, we got 33%. I'm just gonna move this out of my way so I can see there. We got some 60s, we got some 40s. All right, so again, we got a little bit of everybody in here. So we're gonna cover both those aspects as well. And then one more, how many of you have your account set up, are part of the Uni account, have a free account, or do not have an account yet? Okay, so that, all right. So email me, that 20% who have not jumped in. Okay, everybody's got an account, that's awesome. So that person or persons that has that account, just go ahead and give me a shout. All right, we're gonna escape out of this PowerPoint for a second. And I'm gonna drop that out of my way. All right, for those of you who have your account set up or have played with Poll Everywhere a little bit, you may have got to look at kind of what your interface is. This is the Poll Everywhere interface when you go to polleverywhere.com, okay? And here is where you're going to build your polls, adjust how they feel and how they look, and sort of get a general feel. So we're just going to sort of walk through this so you can see all sort of the controls that you have here. Now, you can see here is my Poll Everywhere password. And once you set that up, that's a very easeable change. If you don't, because Poll Everywhere does supply you with this crazy long password, you can edit that, and we'll take a look at editing that in a little later. You can go to your activities page here. There's a great support center, and you can also run reports. So if you need help, you can click here on the support center, host of information to tell you how to do things in Poll Everywhere, and run reports. And essentially a report would allow you to see how people in your class responded to your polls. Now, again, if you've made this anonymous and so forth, it's not going to tie individuals to those responses, but you'd get a general feel, the percentages and so forth. You don't have to worry about screenshotting things or seeing what was going on with each of those polls.
Can I ask a question?
Of course, just jump on in.
With the reports, every poll you do, it will save a report. So I could use this to take attendance.
Yes, you could take this to take attendance. The trickiest part here is you would have to, in order to do that, you would have to register your students or have them register the students with it. Or they'd have to, when they sign in with the screen name, like many of you came in and signed in with your screen name, you'd have to sign in with the correct screen name. And, you know, depending, in theory, if they knew you were going to do that every class, they could sign onto your account and do it from their phone at home.
So not the best idea.
It might not be the best idea. And one of the things that's really cool about this is it can be used very formatively. So this offers an opportunity to for students to share and express ideas. Perhaps if they knew they were being monitored individually and so forth, they might not be as open to do that. Here it's a wonderful freedom to fail. So we want to sort of give that aspect of it to the students as they work through it. But let's sort of take a look at this interface. You can see here, you can see the participants, you've got teams, here's where you can run reports, here's that support help, and there's also some great education tips in here. And your profile is where you can, add a picture of yourself, adjust your page, change your password, all those kind of things. But here is the organization of this. And you can see that I've got all my activities, which are the questions. They refer to everything here as an activity, organized into files, into folders, and I've got a few that just sort of outline here by themselves. You can use this tab to sort of move them around if you want to, or drop them into a particular folder. So it's a great place to organize this, and you can choose your organization style, or you can just leave them all here randomly. That's okay. So this is kind of that organizational interface. I can see here in each of those folders how many items I have in each of these folders, and whether this poll currently is active. If it was active and it was the poll of choice right now, or the one you were seeing in your tab, you would see that this was green and activate, or I could activate this right from here. These buttons here, you can see here, give you a chance to add some activities, rename this folder, duplicate it. And if I go into my workshop here where I'm at today, you can see, as I'd mentioned, see how that one poll there is active. And then I have a few more options here to, see how this poll is doing. Now, you can present from Poll Everywhere from the web page here, which we'll go over in a second. We'll do some things there, or in the PowerPoint or Google Slides and Mac one. So that's the Mac presentation tool, just shot out of my head. Huh? Yeah. So you have a choice of presentation tools in which this will sync up with, depending on which one's your favorite. Keynote, thank you. It is Keynote. There it is. I was like, no, it was starting with an A in my head. And so you have all these options here. You even have the ability to like put this response link in Brightspace or whatever. So this poll, as soon as you could put a poll into Brightspace if you wanted to, that would be able to reach this activity. Okay, so just sort of looking at the chat room, any questions or anything so far before we plow ahead? Can you have more than one poll active at the same time? In essence, yes, but it's not necessarily, the truth is you could have polls active at one time. We'd have to look at the settings, and it, you know, we could work on that depending on how you wanted to make that happen. If you look right now in those tabs, I currently have 2 polls active, the one that's currently in my tab and then one that's in this pinned activity. So as I go to that pinned activity, if you're throwing questions up there, you can, on that other tab, you can see that both those polls are active at this time, okay? All right, I'm gonna go back here. I have the app on my phone and can answer questions, but I don't know what kind of account it is. How can I tell? If you are answering with the apps on your phone, that is a personal just response app. You're using the Poll Everywhere application, and essentially that's the type of account. Where you'd see what kind of account you have is in your page here, is where you'd be able to see in your profile what kind of account you have in particular, okay? All right, I'm just gonna jump on, carry on. All right, so let's take a look here at building a poll. Now I have jumped into my Poll Everywhere workshop folder. So now any activities that I create or polls that I create will end up in this folder. So let's go to our activity plus and create an activity. Now here are the kind of choices that you have. The first one, multiple choice, pretty obvious on what that one is. So let's create a quick multiple choice here. What type of activity would you like to learn about? Now, I'll tell you, my strong point is not typing in front of large groups of people. So we can go, we can do a multiple choice. We can do a word cloud. Okay. And then if we want to add an option to this, we can add an option and we'll go to a Q&A. And the cool thing about a Q&A is that will participants can put in a question and then the other participants in the room can upvote or downvote. A clickable image is that first one that I did today, is a clickable image where I sort of built that little picture of the phases of Carl, and you're able to click on a zone or area. And then an open-ended is essentially participants are allowed to type in sentences or so forth, a response to a question with a little bit more detail, and those will pop up on the screen as they go. So that is our question. And what we're going to do then, after we've sort of built this, we're going to go to this create button and it'll create the poll. All right, and I've got it here in my window. So see what it's going to look like. I'd probably go back and fix this typo if I was building this. And then here are some of the options that you have available to you. You can look at your visual settings, and you can look at the different ways you can change your color schemes. You can change the font, the voting instructions. There's all kinds of ways to add things in here to kind of change the colors. What I had done earlier, where I was able to divide those people up into teams, was a segmented response. Okay, and if I click that enable there, then I select the poll on which I'd want to provide that information to. And it was, you know, what, let's see, I'm looking host plant. What is your favorite food? What is blue? And where is, well, what college do you work in? So that was the one I had set up before in doing so. So you pick a poll in which you're going to use to divide your teams. You could ask about class or level or major, any of those things, and then pick that poll if you wanted to add to that. The other thing you have here, which are, one thing in the visual settings I want to bring up that really helps doing your polls, make them awesome, is see this total results button? This will show the total results, not only on the responses, you can see that going in percentages, which is nice, but you can also then show the total results on the chart. And what that'll do is park a little number, and as soon as you'll see it, as soon as I pop this window out of the way, it'll park this little number right down here on the bottom, so I can see how many people are participating in the class, in the poll. So if I've got a class of 20 and I see that's a 2, I'm gonna be like, wait a second, we're gonna wait till a few more people answer this poll and respond. Again, another way to sort of create that awkward silence that might happen and allow those students to sort of encourage them to participate, to know they're not being monitored and so forth. Again, you can configure how people can respond. You can see via the website. Now, there are some question options where people can respond via text message, but I don't encourage it because you can't answer all question types. So it'll take away some of the fun. You can see here, you can restrict who can participate. You can make things completely anonymous. It says careful. I guess your students could go rogue on you if they wanted to. Restrict to registered participants. If you're going to do that, they would have to register with your account. And if you set that, we'll get your students registered to your account. But again, it sort of takes that anonymous aspect out of it. So it might pull away from a student's wanting to answer. You can see response settings. You can set how many times a person can answer a question, how many options they can select. So there's lots of fun there. And then you can, set a time to unlock this if you want to. There is a test button here. So after you create a question, you can test it. It puts up a little phone here, so you'll see what it could look like. And if I activate that, it's probably going to pop up on your screen and become active. And I can then also, practice on it myself. So it's like, oh, let's see if everyone wants to learn about word clouds. And go ahead and answer that. Jump right in. Let's see. So who wants to, as it popped up in your screen there, go ahead and flip an answer. We got some multiple choices. Oh, everybody loves a good word cloud. Goodness gracious, that's awesome. All right. And then one other option, and as I said, and so okay, everything so far is happy. One thing you can do is present right from the website here. So okay, we got a Q&A as well. Awesome. So if I click present, this would also make it active, and this is would make it active as soon as I go into this full screen mode. The poll is active, and people can respond to it accordingly, just like you all have. So okay, so it looks like we need to go back and do a word cloud. So I am gonna escape out of here, and then you can see I can go back to my polls and create an activity. So let's take a look at a word cloud. Okay, so what is your favorite food, animal, puppy? Let's go with food. All right, now the trick here with a word cloud, one thing you want to keep in mind, this is best designed for things that can be answered with one word. And if it sounds like, if it's like cheese pizza or fruity pebbles or something along those lines, encourage your students to connect them with just, run them together or put an ampersand, or not an ampersand, but an underline or underscore or something to sort of connect them together. If they put in 2 words, it'll separate those 2 words out. And before we jump into that word cloud, I'm gonna go to a Q&A. So, do our word cloud. And if you want to create a series of activities in here, we're going to go and create another activity. Okay, so you can see here, I've got that one poll all set. I'm going to go in here to a Q&A, and we can say, what is your favorite quote. Okay, so we can kind of throw that one up here. And again, when we run this one live, it'll give you some ability to sort of upvote and downvote. So as you kind of see this coming along, you can sort of see that happening. A clickable image, that is that one I built with my own face there, but there are some images in here if you wanted to create with some of those, or you can upload your own image. And I'm going to go into my files from workshop here, and I am going to grab, there it is. That's the one I'm looking for. And I'm going to open that in there. And look, I have a hip structure here. So now I want to make my students find the greater trochanter. So what I can do is click here, and you're going to know the answer to this right away. And you can see here it creates this little region. And then I can jump down there on me. Just make this work. I'm going to get the whole greater trochanter on there. And that's pretty good. So if anyone clicks on that greater trochanter, they should fall into that region. So in this area, I want to sort of create that. And I'm going to just call this region, region 1 is fine. Space 1. You can name this whatever you'd like to name it. And that is going to be the right answer. So if we wanted to create another section here, just for, people click on the wrong area, we can just make it like so, and we'll just call that nope, and go on. Okay, but since this is going to be the right answer, I'm going to click on that little checkpoint there and sort of make that a doable thing. And then so I've got my zones. I can name those zones as I want to. I've got my clickable image. So as students jump into this and answer it, they'll click into the area that, on this picture. And if they get the right greater trochanter, it will let them know when we do that poll. So we're going to create that. Okay. Whoops, I'm going to jump back into my activities again. Let's go back here to poll everywhere. Go back to my activity. And last and not least, we could do an open-ended question. So, here, how do you see yourself using poll everywhere? Okay, and we'll click create. Now we have created those polls, and I want to show you one way that you can sort of present from the poll. And you can see here, the four we just created are all right here. So if you click on this poll and you go to present, it will move this poll right to the top. And as you can see, it comes up on your thing. So go ahead and jump in your favorite screen. We've got some chats coming in there. So I'm going to jump over here and take a look. Oh, okay, we're good on the chats? Cool. Yeah, see, we had alcoholic beverages. It was 2 words or underscore. Sushi, that's always a big one. Tacos. There it is. Wine. And as you can see, this could open the door for abuse from your students, but there is a profanity filter. I don't know how good it is. I haven't tried it, but I'm also thinking, hey, we got adults. So we got wine, tacos, pizza. Okay. So you can kind of see the fun you can have here. Now down here, when you roll your mouse down to the bottom, you kind of have this cool tool that is available to you when you're presenting. This is both available as you're presenting from PowerPoint or presenting from the web here. And you can click on the instruction menu. So it shows on this instruction menu how, how to answer, how to respond. So, if students forget or you forget, it's all right here. The other thing about this window is that even though students can see it in their app here, it doesn't show the answers on the screen, because sometimes what can happen if you have a multiple choice with the right answer or so forth, everyone starts seeing one screen light up and they're jumping off, and you'll watch the wrong answers that happen disappear and all the right answers kind of go on. So a great way to practice that recall and sort of students looking at their knowledge and so forth is that, throwing this screen up in the beginning. And then after you can see down here, I got a total of 13. So it's like, oh, that's everybody in the class has at least answered twice, which is awesome. I can go to my responses page. And the way the word cloud works is that those who have those words that came up more often get bigger, okay? So you can see here, pizza is pretty popular amongst our crew. The other thing here is I can lock this poll, which means people couldn't answer it. You can kind of see that it is locked on your pad. I can unlock this poll. I can flip through the poll. So if I'm presenting from there, and then you've got a couple more options. I can clear responses here. I can change my video responses. I'm always going to show my controls so they don't disappear on me. And then, so I can go on to my next one. So here, whoops. It looks like Carl typoed. This is actually, where is the greater trochanter? I got ahead of myself. So this one we should have tested. And so this is there it is. Yep, you saw it. Everybody's dressed in the greater trochanter. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And again, I can see different ways to look at this. Here's my responses. Here's my regions, so I can know how many clicked in the wrong areas or the right areas. It looks like now people are jumping back into here. Or if I show all, I can see the responses. So you can kind of see that yellow one is a wrong answer. The green one's in the right answer. So speeding through, this is what got me in trouble. And I had accidentally not finished creating our Q&A. And we'll go to our next one. How do you see yourself using PE? This is an open response. So go ahead and type a response in there, and you'll see sort of how they come into play. Excellent question. Still not sure. That's okay. You can call me. I don't know. Okay. Cool. And so one thing, when these start coming in here as a presenter, if I click on that, see how it makes it bigger, and I can sort of, bring it into, a larger focus or something along those lines. Participation, understand concepts, to stave off boredom. Besides the fact that your class is amazing, sure, make students are getting to the main point. Excellent. So, right, you could reflect back on the coursework. You could do a think, pair, share. So you could get a couple of students together, hey, what do you have about those questions and so forth? What are you still thinking about? What do you think is the main point? So you could use this one because you can put any kind of, there we go. Exactly. Safe way for students to ask questions without the fields, okay? Yeah, see how fun? We get all this great information, and not a single person has had to raise their hand to put themselves out there, if they're a little nervous about looking silly in front of the class. So, you could take these, you could use them. You say, okay, opening information gaps before going into a topic. Much like I did at the beginning, I wanted to find out where we're at, what you knew. Just like if you sent some homework out, you could find out where students are. And then, you can use these as jump off tools, like opening information gaps. Do you agree with that, Liz? Do you agree with that, Mark? Those sort of ideas are a great way to sort of bring students in. And if you're using lectures or mini lectures, Poll Everywhere is a great way to sort of cap segments or chunked bits. So you can have those beginning and middles and ends. And it's going to bring the students sort of back into the flow if we've started to lose their attention or whatever, if we've gone on a little bit too long. So, again, just sort of that engagement. All right, and that's why I'm going to exit out of here, go back into my workshop questions. And any questions? Do we have any questions come into the tab, into that other tab? Nope, it looks good. Anyone have any questions before we jump into dropping these into a PowerPoint? No? All right. Let the fun begin. So how do we bring these into a PowerPoint? And we were equally split between Mac and PC people. So on a Mac, what you're going to do, let me just move this out of my way here. If you go to Poll Everywhere, apps, Here at Poll Everywhere Apps, you get to choose your weapon of choice, okay? So if you're a Windows PowerPoint presenter, Apple Keynote, Google Slides, or PowerPoint Mac, because Poll Everywhere operates a little bit differently on a PC and a Mac. On a Mac, you drop down on application, and that application has to be running in the background. You'll open that up to bring those slides into your PowerPoint. And I'll kind of show what that looks like on my Mac here. On a PC, Poll Everywhere will create a tab on your screen. And I'm going to jump into my PowerPoint just a quick second because I have a picture of that. Yes. All right, so I'm just going to play from the current slide. So you can see here, this is a view of my PowerPoint window. See this tab that's created in your PowerPoint if you're on a PC. So it creates this tab, and then whenever you're using Poll Everywhere, you'll be able to just insert insert slides and so forth right from this tab. The kicker is you want to make sure that you are signed in. You can see here this little person here. If I wasn't logged in when I opened this up on my PC, it would have asked for a login. I logged myself in, I logged into my account, and then I was able to access it and download slides. But it's not that much different once we get into the slide process. So I'm going to do it on my Mac just so you can kind of see what that looks like. I'm going to just sort of drop my PowerPoint out of my way here for a second, go back to my activities page, and I've got my PowerPoint open. So this is going to be the one where I wanted to add slides and so forth to this. So it's going to be like, all right, I'm going to add a couple of slides into this PowerPoint as sort of we go through here. So now what I will do is I will go to my Poll Everywhere application. And if I go to apps here, Poll Everywhere. And once you open this on your PC, it looks very similar. And you can see here, I have access to all my polls and all my questions. I'm going to go into the Poll Everywhere workshop here. And you can see here are some of the questions that we have created for ourselves here. So I am just going to choose, that one was broken because we found that out. So I'm going to bring in this word poll. So I'm going to just our word cloud. So I can click on that one. I'm like, all right, what is my favorite food? And you can see as soon as I did that, see how these came up on the top, and I can insert that slide. And bada bing, there's my word cloud. It got dropped in here in the bottom. Now this is one thing, glad I did this. This is one thing I want to bring your attention to. When I brought that slide into my PowerPoint here, I had some residual data hanging out in that slide. And sort of the way Poll Everywhere works is when you activate a slide in your PowerPoint or on the browser, it goes to polleverywhere.com, grab whatever data is hanging around in that activity and brings it and shows it on the screen. Now, had I done that, left this information in here and not cleared my results prior to starting this class, this is what exactly would have come up in screen. And I would have gotten all that old data. You can easily clear this off, and I make sure I'll demo that in a second. But the other thing it does when it's creating a PowerPoint slide is sort of take a quick JPEG or screenshot of what's going on in that poll at that time. Now, if I go back into my polleverywhere.com and I clear this information, when I open this slide again, it will come back without this information. This just sort of works as a marker, okay? So it's just there as sort of a screenshot, and it works like any other slide. So if I wanted to move this around in my presentation, I could do so. So as soon as you drop, any that you drop in, go in just like regular slides. Wherever your marker had to be at that point, they'll pop in. But when I activate this in my PowerPoint, it will just go to Poll Everywhere, get the information out, and bring it back. The important thing to remember, oops, let's go back to this one. The important thing is to remember, don't mess with the notes down here, okay? That's where the information hangs out. for how this poll works. So if you go and change this, it will break the poll. And if you're ever presenting and you notice that the polls aren't working or aren't functioning, a lot of times what will happen is you'll get an image of whatever screenshot you have in there, and you'll see in your presentation, you'll have these little things in the corners. That lets you know that Poll Everywhere is not working. And the primary reasons is A, if you're on a Mac, you haven't opened up the Poll Everywhere application. If you're on a PC, you haven't signed into your PowerPoint presentation. So the other thing to, you're not signed into your account in your tab that's created there. The important thing to remember is that you have to be using a computer that has Poll Everywhere drop down to it. So if you drop it on your laptop, you need to take your laptop with you, or you need to get it dropped down into the computer that you use and then sign into that Poll Everywhere application when you're in that room. So I recommend kind of using your laptop if you're going to use this often, because you're kind of familiar with how, you know it's going to work here. If you're in teaching teams and you're sharing presentations, talk to me about setting up a team. And on a team, you can share activities with each other and have them work in each other's presentations. So it's kind of a cool bonus if you have a teaching team that's going to use these a lot. Now, I just want to show you real quick. I'm going to go back to polleverywhere.com and the Googles here. In that slide, you can see right now in my favorite food responses, I'm like bonkers. I forgot to turn that off. So if I click this check mark right next to it, I can see all these choices open up, and I can click clear. And here it's going to archive those results. So if I wanted to run a report on who answered this question, where and how, I could click archive. It's going to be an option that it does every time you clear results. Now those responses are clear. And I just want to show you in that PowerPoint, you see it took that JPEG. So that's like, oh no, it's broken. But if I'm just going to play it from the current slide for fun. See how it doesn't show that image, that is on that slide. It goes to Poll Everywhere, gets that information, brings the responses back. So if you started popping in responses again, you would see that they're just going to start in here, and you'll have a whole new series of responses. Okay, so a lot of times if I've made heavy edits to a question, and here comes our pizza. A lot of times if I've made heavy edits to a question, I will change my slide out. I'll delete the slide and reinsert the question. It just makes me feel better. Like if I had done that and brought in old information, that would mess with my head. So I would be like, I'm just gonna delete that slide and reinsert it, and then I feel comfortable. So I tend to do that if I make a lot of edits to a slide. It's sort of a best practices. I found it worked a little bit better. All right, and jumping out of there. Okay, any questions on that aspect of it? Because it's going to be a big important piece for a lot of you that are using it, either loading it into Windows or loading it into Mac. And again, you can use that question tab if you want to on the in your Poll Everywhere application there. I can't type those kind of questions on my phone, but there it is. Anything popping up in the chat room there, Mark? Awesome. Okay, so we have covered how to, we're clicking off all the
So Casey said, so when you go through the PowerPoint, does it automatically activate that poll?
It does. So when I am going through the PowerPoint, whenever, and we can do sort of well, let's just spin up to these so you can kind of see them again. We're going to start from the current slide. So just watch, you don't have to respond to these, but watch your tab or where you're open. So whenever I go to the next one, it changes. So it automatically activates, and you can see here it's grabbing that old data because I didn't clear these questions yet, but it automatically changes in the tab when you're going through the PowerPoint. Whenever you bring up that slide, It deactivates the one prior and activates the one that you're on. And if you end with a slide, say you end with a PowerPoint, that one still will probably hang out active because you didn't deactivate it, but you can go to Poll Everywhere, you go to your interface and deactivate any that still might be hanging around, okay? Next one, and then if you're presenting from the interface, anytime you go into full screen mode, which we're gonna do right here, because we have a prize. So I'm gonna go here, and we are gonna go to random stuff, and I'm gonna present here. Ooh, play, it's so exciting. All right, before I jump into this is a competition. This is the competition. So you can set these up as, as review, as just some fun, first day of class, whatever. This is kind of a fun thing that counts. I have set this competition up, and you can turn any series of questions into a competition. But you can win up to 1,000 points for right answers. You'll have 10 seconds to answer these questions as they come. You can set it as little as 5. And it's just, I think we got 4 or 5 random questions here for fun. It tracks a leaderboard. It does all these fun things. You can also park these into a PowerPoint as well. All right, so if you're ready. The director for the Center for Excellence at Teaching and Learning is Carl Kerrigan, Joe Biden, Mark Ebenfield, or James Herbert. Jump in there. We got 3, 2, 1. All right. We better do better announcements. So we've got 1 for Carl, 1 for Joe Biden, and the rest for Mark. So those who answered Mark are correct. And we'll go to our leaderboard. And here we go. Okay, so we've got Liz and Nancy and guest 684. So if you're guest 684, be sure to tell me who you are so I can send you the prize. All right, Dr. Gru is best known for being the 5th Beatle, his theories in quantum physics, stealing the moon, or creating the software for the James Webb Telescope. Bum, 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 and 0. All right. Okay, stealing the moon is the correct answer. That is, so I'm pegging who's got kids or grandkids at this very moment. Great information. Dr. Gru is from the Minions, for those who may not know. All right, and we've had a change in the status here. Guest 64 is rocking it. Okay, here we go. Next question. On your annual basis by number of deaths, which of the following is the most dangerous? Sharks, oysters, or hospitals? Sharks, oysters, or hospitals? Bum, 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 bum. And the correct answer is hospitals. And actually, oysters are more deadly than sharks. More people die of bad oysters annually than shark attacks. So hospitals is the correct answer there. And here's our leaderboard. Nancy has jumped. This is pretty much within the top 3 reach. Do I have another question there? The UNE football field is unique because it's only 90 yards long. It was built with old Legos and sneakers. It is blue. It is in the off-season. It is maintained by genetically modified goats. What is the correct answer? It's blue. Bing, bing, bing. It's genetically modified goats. I love it. All right, and I'm pretty sure that is my last question. Here we go. Liz came up from behind and crushed it. Let me see if I had any more. I don't think I had any more questions. There it is. All right, so Liz is the winner. Woo! Gosh, you were that close. Like 62% votes separated it out. So congratulations to Liz. That was fun. So this is kind of, you can see, even though you're like, want to be really cool, like, I'm not going to get that competitive. Ta-da! You do. It's kind of fun. So this is kind of a great way to engage your students. They'll totally get into it as they go out of here. So I'm going to exit out of there. And I have about 5 minutes.
Can
And
you say what that was called again? The
that is,
activity?
I will. So if we go to our activities, that's a competition.
Okay, thank you.
You are very welcome. That's called a competition. Drop your questions in here. Okay, so you just create your questions in your competition, add another question, and continue to add those questions. Okay, so you can type them in there, and then you'll want to select the right answer. So in these, it only works with multiple choice questions, and you want to select the right answer as you do that. Any questions? Just so you know, a survey, as one of those activities is you can create a list of questions, but in a survey, essentially, you could, again, park that into a PowerPoint or what have you, and it will create a series of questions that a student or person could answer at their own time. You could also create a link to that. And, you know, it's a little bit more difficult to see what those results are, but you could run a report to get that information. They don't necessarily come up on the screen. So if you had a muddiest point or something that you wanted students to use as an exit ticket before they went out, you could drop that survey at the end, have them answer a couple questions, and then be on their way. And then you could run a report to get those survey questions available. So there we are. We covered a lot of ground in using Poll Everywhere. There's lots of good help menus and some trainings on the Poll Everywhere sites, but reach out to me if you have questions. Yes, please evaluate the evaluation. We'll send that out to you via email, or did Mark drop it into the chat as well? All right, so we'll send you the evaluation. Please, please, please fill those out for us. Lets us know how these workshops work for you. Lets us know what type of programming, if the format, all those good things, and it met your needs as the amazing professors that you are here at the university. Questions about this? Need an account? Need to get on the UNE account? Want to play with this a little bit? You know, call me up. We can sort through that as we go.